Should you polish your paintwork after you're done clay barring the paint? I'm going to answer that question in this video, and I'm also going to answer another related question, and that is, should you clay before you do some machine polishing or paint correction steps? And as a bonus question, I'm going to answer another one, and that is, how often should you clay your paintwork? So what's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Pan TheOrganizer. By the way, quick disclaimer, this is not a sponsored video. I'm just here to give you some tips and tricks about detailing. I've been detailing now for over 26 years at this point, and I enjoy sharing my passion and knowledge with you guys, my viewers. You've made this one of the biggest car detailing channels on YouTube, and I have you to thank for that. By the way, I'm also going to make sure to include the links to all the tools and equipment I'm talking about in the description under the video for you guys to check them out. So all you have to do is sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. So let's get into the topic right away. First of all, a clay bar, right? We've all seen this, a putty-like material that is used for automotive purposes, in this case, to decontaminate the clear coat, so that top clear, shiny layer on top of your paint from any embedded contamination. That could be industrial fallout, it can be tree sap, it can be removing remaining bug guts, it can be paint overspray, it can be a bunch of different things that are out there. So there are generally two steps in decontaminating paint. First, the chemical decontamination with iron removers to remove brake dust, industrial fallout. Then you have tar removers that can remove obviously tar deposits, road tar, that kind of stuff. And then you have mechanical decontamination. So that's done afterwards with a clay type material to remove whatever leftover embedded contamination there is in your paintwork. Is it important to do machine polishing steps after claying, and why? So if we talk about traditional clay bars, right? These have been around since the 1980s. They were developed specifically to remove typical embedded contamination from the clear coat, once again. And so this is not regular putty. Don't use that to decontaminate your paint. This is specific automotive clay. And so you can twist and turn, and you can reuse the clay bars, by the way, as often as you want. You just need it just like this to expose a fresh new surface every time you're going to go and do a vehicle. By the way, typically you can do 6 to 8 cars before you have to throw these away. The only caveat, if you drop them, you have to throw them away because they're going to pick up anything that's on the floor, and you don't want to grind that onto your surface. So now the age-old question is, should you machine polish after you do a clay bar step? So the answer, generally speaking, is yes. Why is that? That's because clay bars, these guys, are abrasive. So believe it or not, although they might feel soft in your hand, they're abrasive materials. So even though there are some soft, medium, and coarse clay bars, all of them are still abrasive. So what they can do, it's not going to be deep scratches or deep swirl marks on your paintwork, but they're going to do some marring on the surface. So when you're done claying, what I highly recommend that you do is take an inspection light and look at your paint. So if you see some marring, or if you see things or defects that you want to remove, go ahead and do machine polishing steps. Now, it is not mandatory to machine polish afterwards, because if you're done claying, you at least decontaminated the surface, right? The surface should feel glass smooth and silky smooth. And if you observe your paint, you don't see any real big marring, or you don't really feel the need to polish, if it looks good to you, you can skip machine polishing and go to whatever other step you want, including applying a carnauba wax or a synthetic paint sealant, so on and so forth. If you are going to be applying a ceramic coating or a graphene coating, any type of coating, at the end, those longer lasting paint protectants, I highly recommend that after you clay, you also machine polish, not only to perfect your paint, because you're going to be sealing it for years to come. So as much as possible, you want to try and remove as much oxidation, swirl marks, and deep scratches that there might be. You want the paint to look as good as it can. And that's by paint correction, by the way, machine polishing. That's how you increase the gloss the most, even more so than applying the protection. So always remember, when you're removing all the defects, when you're removing the oxidation, and you're flattening that surface by removing a bit of that clear coat, right? A very small amount, but still, you're flattening that surface, you're increasing the way the light reflects, better light reflection, you're increasing the depth and clarity, the gloss, all that kind of stuff. And also, by doing paint correction or machine polishing, that mechanical abrasion with the polishing compound and the pad will also remove any previous protection that might be on the paint. That can be an older wax, a paint sealant, perhaps an old coating that is on its last leg. And so that's how you're going to ensure 100% removal. Paint polishing is the only way to ensure 100% removal of any previous protection that's on there. And we all know that is crucial before you apply one of those glass bottle coatings, because they have to bond directly to a virgin clear coat without interference from any previous paint protection. Obviously, after machine polishing, you're going to do an IPA wipe down or use a paint prep spray. So basically an isopropyl alcohol based solution to remove any of those polishing oils and residue. Again, you're going to have a naked and virgin clear coat to work with, and then you apply your protection on top. Is polishing important after claying? Technically, yes, you should machine polish to remove any marring that the clay bar might have done. But if it looks good to you and you don't plan on applying any coating, you can skip the machine polishing if you really want to. Also, if you're a professional detailer out there, there's a lot of wash, clay, and seal packages that are sold, right? And that doesn't include doing the machine polishing. So if your customer isn't paying for paint correction, obviously have a discussion with them. They're going to have to expect that there's still going to be defects in the paint. And if they're okay with that, well, obviously you're going to skip polishing. But if they do want to pay for the polishing steps, then you can go ahead and include that after your claying steps. Now, the clay has evolved, right? So I would highly recommend that you go and watch my Future of Clay video. I'll leave that linked in the description, because clay bars now have changed to some perforated synthetic decontamination materials, like this towel here from DIY Detail. This is their perforated synthetic decontamination towel. So I don't know if you can tell. So it has a clay-like material on there. This is not traditional clay, by the way. Again, this is a synthetic material that's put on top of a microfiber backing, as you can tell. And so you fold typically these in 4. And so you have a lot of sides to work with. You can fold that, expose another side of it, and continue claying. You would, of course, always use this in conjunction with a good lubricant. So I really like dedicated clay lubes, like this Geon clay lube. I dilute this 1 to 10, so 1 part of product to 10 parts of water. Or you can use a rinseless wash solution. Again, the DIY Detail is a banger of a rinseless wash. You would use a 1 to 256 dilution ratio, which means half an ounce of product inside every gallon of water. So mix up a solution in a bucket, and then you can fill in your sprayer with that mixed solution. And that's how simple it is to make your clay lubricant. So always make sure the surface is lubricated. Yes, you can also use your car shampoo that's in your bucket as a clay lube. A lot of people like doing that. You're saving on a lot of costs, right? Because you're using the diluted soap that's in your bucket if you want to. I still prefer dedicated clay lubes or rinseless washes, but you guys decide. So the DIY perforated synthetic decontamination towel, that's an ultra fine grade. And there's also one that I really like. Again, this is one from the Rag Company. This is their ultra clay towel. So same principle. You see that synthetic perforated decontamination material that's applied on top of a microfiber backing. So again, this one here is a soft material, and you get soft or super soft. Don't quote me on that. But again, the purpose of these now is that they've evolved to a point where that synthetic decontamination material will not mar the surface. So if you use that with proper lubrication, it will not cause any marring, scratches, or swirls on the surface like a traditional clay bar can, because this is an abrasive and these guys are not abrasive. So of course, keep in mind though, even though these are not abrasive, make sure that, well, it can potentially happen that if you have a bigger chunk of some contamination and it gets moved around by those towels, well, that could potentially, obviously, scratch or mar the paint. So regardless, even when you're using these, technically, they won't mar the surface. However, observe your work once you're done with the decontamination step, guys. Look at it, take an inspection light, or at least bring it outside in the sunlight. Look at the paint. If it doesn't need any paint correction to you, especially if you're not coating the vehicle afterwards, well, you can go ahead and skip the polishing steps and move directly to applying your carnauba wax or your synthetic paint sealant. And again, if you're applying a glass bottled coating, a graphene coating, a ceramic coating, or anything in that realm, I would highly recommend at least a light polish step just to ensure there is no previous protection left on the surface, so you can have a virgin and naked clear coat to work with. That is crucial for the durability and performance of those glass bottle coatings. Again, I would highly recommend that you polish after claying if you're using a traditional clay bar. If you're using the new synthetic decontamination towels, observe the paint. It might not need polishing. However, if you're going to coat and apply a coating, I would highly recommend that you do a light polishing step. Now, let's talk about the opposite. should you clay your paint before polishing? And to that, I would say absolutely yes, without any exception. Once again, if you think about it, if you don't decontaminate the paint before you polish, that polisher, it has a backing plate, and on that plate, you have that pad, right? This is spinning at very high RPM. Now, imagine that you don't decontaminate the paint and that the pad there picks up the contamination from the clear coat and starts spinning it at high speed in either an orbital pattern or a direct drive pattern, depending on which polisher you're using, or perhaps a rotary polisher, regardless. So it's picking up those embedded contaminants and it's spinning it in the paint, causing more swirls and more scratches. Thus, you're decreasing your efficiency because you're increasing the amount of swirls and scratches that you're going to have to remove. It's counterproductive, right? So you're grinding more of that contamination in the surface in hopes to perhaps remove it during the polishing steps. So always, 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 if you're planning on paint correcting and doing machine polishing, do a clay stage before. And to that, I would add, even before doing the clay stage, that's the mechanical decontamination, I would definitely start with the chemical decon. So the very least is to use an iron remover to remove the embedded brake dust and industrial fallout, because those iron particles really need that chemistry to kind of break down the outer surface. So the iron particles, if you look at them through a microscope, you would see that they have jagged edges. So those edges, they really like encrust themselves deep in the clear coat and they like kind of cling on. So when you use iron removers, it accelerates the oxidation process and it rounds off or smoothens those edges, helps them being more soluble to flush them out with water afterwards. So that exothermic chemical reaction from the iron remover really helps to change the shape, if you want, of those iron particles. You flush them out. So when you're moving on to your clay stage afterwards, you have less contamination to remove. So I would do chemical decon first. So take care of the iron remover and then use a tar remover if need be. So if you have tar deposits, if you see those black rubber spots or some road tar, that kind of stuff, or some potential glue from stickers, that kind of stuff, or adhesive, you can use the tar remover, flush that out, and then you'd move to your clay stage, and after that, your paint correction stage. So there's always ways to do things. I have many videos on my channel, by the way. If you want to put all those steps into perspective, you can see how I fully detail a car from the beginning all the way till the end. So of course, you start with your pre-wash stages with the foam cannon to remove a bit of that road grime, traffic film, also start to soften up the loose dirt and debris. You'd flush that, then move to the hand wash stage. So you always want your car to be clean before you do the paint decon with the chemicals, iron remover, tar remover, and then you move to your clay stage, then you move to your machine polishing stage, then you would do potentially an IPA wipe with a paint prep spray, so the isopropyl alcohol, to remove any of those polishing oils and residue, and then you apply your protection in the end. So if you look at my videos, it's always the same steps. Pretty much all professionals do that out there, and I know the majority of my awesome weekend warriors as well that have been following my videos, you guys know the drill by now, and you know how to fully detail a vehicle. Also, if I have to move to a bonus question, so I often get asked, and this is by DIYers and some beginner professionals as well, right? How often should you clay? It's never really clear. So one thing we always say in the detailing world is you only clay when your paint needs it. How do you know? Well, wash your car, rinse it, and then you have the option to either let it wet or dry it, but I would dry it at that point if you're not sure. Put a plastic bag on your hand, we call that the plastic baggie test, and gently rub on the surface with the bag. It's going to amplify any bumps or contamination that might be on the paint, and you're going to feel that rough sandpaper-like texture. So if you feel that, that means that it's time to clay, if you feel that contamination. If you do the plastic baggie test and you feel that it's glass smooth and there's no irregularities or imperfections or contamination that you can feel, well, then you can skip the decontamination step with the clay bar, right? Or if you don't have a plastic baggie, just gently run your fingers very softly on the surface, and again, do the same thing. If you feel contamination, it needs to be clayed. If it feels glass smooth, you can skip the polishing steps. Now, some other important things when talking about clay bars is if you're talking about a traditional clay bar, you would not use this on top of an existing ceramic coated car because you're going to damage the coating. Don't forget, these are abrasive. You don't want to damage the top portions of the molecules of the coating that's sitting on top of your paintwork. It's there to protect. So you would not use this. You would use chemical decontamination steps. However, with these new synthetic perforated decontamination towels, you can use this on ceramic coated vehicles, and we've talked about this in recent videos as well. So as long as you use good lubrication, wash your vehicle first, feel your paint. If it needs it, go ahead. You can use this on a ceramic coated or graphene coated vehicle, any coated vehicle. These will not damage the coatings. Quick disclaimer, not all synthetic decontamination towels are okay to be used on ceramic coatings. You'd have to ask the manufacturers. These two, the Rag Company Ultra Clay Towel and DIY Detail Perforated Synthetic Decontamination Towel, I know are okay to use on ceramic coated cars. And yeah, use proper lubrication. That is key. How often? Well, again, feel it. If it does feel that it has contamination, sandpaper-like texture or grit, then you would clay. And if it doesn't, well, if it feels glass smooth, you don't have to clay. Typically speaking, if I'm looking at a car that is uncoated or just has a regular wax or a paint sealant, every 3 to 4 months or perhaps every season change, that's when you'd want to clay. If you don't really know or want to do the baggy test or the hand touching test. So every 3 to 4 months is a good idea. And on a coated vehicle, again, only when needed. So have a look, inspect your paint. The more often you wash it, the less chances that it's going to accumulate contamination over time. And so that's it. If you use safe washing and drying methods, there shouldn't be any marring on your paint as well. I have a lot of videos showing how to properly take care of your vehicle on the channel. Again, guys, I'll leave the links to all the tools and equipment in the description under the video for you guys to check them out. I hope you enjoyed this quick one, but a good one, right? It's good to share the important information. And if you know anybody that might benefit from videos like this, share my videos with them. Send it to friends, to family. Let's grow the channel to even bigger heights together. So thanks for being there. Thanks for watching. And in the meantime, don't forget, keep it tight, keep it clean, and I'll see you on the next one.